When we count things, we use numerals. Numerals represent quantities. 1, 2, 3, 4. When we compare numbers, one number can be greater than another. For that, we use this sign. Its wide open side is turned toward the greater number. When we compare numbers, one number can be less than another number. For that, we use this sign. Its point is turned towards a smaller number. Or numbers can be equal to one another. For those, we use this sign. We also know that when we count things, we use ones. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. We also know that 10 ones become 1 10. When we have 10 apples, we can put them in one bag. One bag represents 10 apples. Now we have one bag with 10 apples in it and no apples in the ones trailer. We show nothing as 0. Now, because we have tens and ones, we need to compare two-digit numbers starting with the tens. First, we start with the tens, and then we compare ones. Let's compare these two numbers, 22 and 15. Which sign should we use? Greater than, less than, or equal to? Let's look at this number. It has two tens. We will use bags to represent tens. We will need two bags. Each of them will have 10 apples inside. But we say 2 tens. And we have 2 ones. We can represent them as 2 apples. Now, let's look at the number 15. We have 1 10. Let's show it as a bag. We have one bag and we call it 1 10. But we know there are 10 apples in it. And we have 5 ones. We will show them as 5 apples. Now, let's compare these two numbers. Remember, we start with tens. Then, if needed, we will compare ones. We see that we have more bags on the left than on the right. That means we have more tens in the number on the left than in the number on the right. We don't need to compare ones here because we already see that the number 22 has more tens than the number 15. Since we know that the number 22 has more tens than 15, we can tell that 22 is greater than the 15. We will use the sign greater than to show it. Remember, in the sign, the wide open side is turned towards the larger number. To read this math sentence, we say 22 is greater than 15 because it has more tens. Let's compare these two numbers, 12 and 15. We will do the same thing as before. We will look at these two numbers as quantities, bags for tens and single apples for ones. Then we will compare these two numbers, starting with the tens. First is the number 12. Let's look at the tens first. Again, we will replace them with bags of 10 apples. 12 has 1 10, so we replace it with 1 apple bag. Let's look at ones now. 12 has 2 ones. We will replace them with 2 apples. Now we look at the number 15. It has 1 10, so we replace it with 1 bag of 10 apples. And it has 5 ones. We will replace them with 5 apples. Now, let's compare these two numbers. We can see that 12 and 15 both have 1 10. But we can also see that 12 has less ones than 15. Our ones are shown as single apples. By comparing the ones, we can see that 12 is less than 15. To show that, we use the sign less than. Its point is facing the smaller number. To read this math sentence, we say 12 is less than 15 because number 12 has less ones than 15. Let's compare these last two numbers. Which sign should we use? Let's look at these numbers as quantities, bags for tens and apples for ones. First, let's look at this number. This number has 3 tens. We will replace them with 3 bags of apples to represent tens. Then we will look at ones. It has 2 ones. We will replace them with single apples. Now we look at the other number. It also has 3 tens. We will replace them with the apple bags too. The number on the right also has 2 ones. We will show them as 2 single apples as well. Now, we see that the number 32 on the left has the same amount of tens and ones as the number on the right. To show that, we use the equal to sign. To read this math sentence, we say 32 is equal to 32 because they have the same amount of both tens and ones. Well done.